regarding. So, yeah. So, what was it? The topic?
The reparative therapy.
Yeah. So,
That's definitely a place where we can talk about whether or not that's abuse, because there's definite signs of it. There's definite, you know, legal issues there. There's ethical issues. You know, is therapy a form of free speech and therefore protected, or is it like can you limit it because it's making claims that can be demonstrably tested, and it's harm that can be shown. So how can that be? Can you ban that kind of thing, especially at least into your adults?
yeah. I mean, I would personally, well, I would like to see things like that banned outright. But then again, there's a part of me that thinks if people really want to go through that when they are an adult,
Yeah.
it should be allowed. But I think by knee-jerk reaction, there is a level of, well, not quite deconverting people from being gay. I don't, it's weird, the concept of changing a person completely. But I think there is that kind of process where they will try and make children who do seem a bit more effeminate or just simply a bit more interested in the other boys a bit too much. Will try and focus them on particular elements of religion, try and get them more involved in religion. And I suppose that explains why there are so many priests who are closet homosexuals. Because, they have been, from a young age, told that, basically, if they get certain urges, get certain feelings, that it's, something tempting them, and therefore, as a result, try and run away from their true nature. Perhaps they run into religion to try and fight off their, quote, evil urges, because that's...
I think that's definitely a good... I think that's definitely a case, and also probably something off topic, why there's a lot of pedophiles within the priesthood, because they know these urges are wrong, they want to fight them, so they go into the church, because here's a society that says they can't have sex, so they hope that will help them fight it, just as homosexuals or any other person that has something they don't want.
Yeah.
Their argument is it doesn't work. That kind of and I think the other issue that I have especially is, let's just for a second here assume that gay therapy works.
Okay.
90%, many of the people that are doing these things aren't, even if it worked, to be doing this kind of therapy.
Mm-hmm.
They have no formal training to be doing therapy or any form to people, let alone something untested.
Yeah. So it's pure pseudoscience.
Well, it's not even just pseudoscience; they're pseudo-scientists.
Yeah.
It's like even if there was a legitimate way of doing this, the people doing it wouldn't be qualified. So you've got unqualified people doing unqualified stuff.
So it's a bit like, at least if you go to a New Age healer, they're likely to be qualified in some kind of quack process. Like if they're going to be claiming to heal your back with, Reiki energy.
Mm-hmm.
Or, well, Reiki. Basically, they would have some kind of qualification in that. But these people claiming to cure homosexuality are basically just people who are just imposing religious dogma in the end, and through guilt and shame, making those people who are feeling those urges convince themselves to a large degree that they are not actually gay.
Yeah, and like I said, and they're definitely not qualified. I mean, qualified, I especially mean they have no degrees in psychology, they have no degrees in therapy, stuff that a psychologist trying to do reparative therapy on any other thing would need to have. You know, they would need to be able to. You know, if they want to try to cure people of addiction, they need certain qualifications. But because God has told them that that they can cure this, they think they can cure homosexuality and wouldn't even be qualified to cure addiction of any kind.
I've heard some pretty wild claims, not just to do with like supposedly curing people through what are they called? They would go away to be. It's not deconverted, is it? There's a specific term when they're being treated.
Gay conversion therapy?
Pardon?
Gay conversion therapy is one.
Yeah, that's the one. Basically, I've heard of other radical claims as well, like that they can people can be cured of certain urges, including homosexuality, through faith healing as well, and other things like that. You know, and it's just equally as it's the same thing in the end, isn't it? You know, it's the same sort of process of being around a group, and the only thing that makes the gay conversion therapy something approaching a therapy is that very often it's more removed and specific to that particular supposed conversion process.
Yeah, and here's something I think my feeling on gay conversion therapy, homeopathy, and any kind of quackery is, you know, people have a right to do quackery. To take quackery. If I'm convinced cocaine will cure my acne, I can do that. But you can't sell me cocaine telling me it's a cure for acne. It's my right to take it. It's my right to do with my body what I want. But it's not but you don't have a right to tell me untested things.
Well, that's where a bit of a variable comes up, because if a religious group was to tell you that they had a magic pill which they believe cures homosexuality, gayness, then and people took it and actually thought they were being cured, even though they're not saying it does, they're simply saying that people believe it does, would that be acceptable? Even though it's complete quackery, it's probably sugar tablets, but people believe in it, and therefore...
I think the rule of thumb should be it needs to actually have some form of testing, just like with homeopathy. Homeopathy cannot sell their stuff as cures until there's actual testing showing that this stuff actually works better than placebo. They have to actually show that it works before they can make the claims. We've sort of gotten off this ability, you know, it's sort of become the reverse, where the onus is on people saying it doesn't cure stuff to prove it doesn't cure.
Yeah.
You know, the courts will rule. You know, in Europe, there's been a lot of cases where somebody says homeopathy is bullshit, and they get sued, and the person wins because the person claiming it was bullshit didn't have evidence. You know.
Yeah, I suppose there is that thing, isn't there? But it's a bit like the whole... in many ways, in my opinion, if a person is claiming homeopathy is bullshit, and saying the person has no evidence that it is indeed bullshit, it's the same as a person saying, "Oh well, you can't disprove my God." It's kind of one of those technicalities, isn't it? And with a lot of quackery, very often calling something a con, like a person who does healing saying they're just a con man, that's like detrimental to their character, I suppose. And in certain cases, it could be worth suing. And it's a bit like in fact, the TV show Penn and Teller's Bullshit. They've been sued a bunch of times by people who didn't like them talking about them, and that's why they use the language bullshit, motherfuckers, and that kind of stuff. Because if they just call them con men, they're going to get sued, and they're going to get sued, badly.
Yeah, but that's just it's sort of. But the problem is, it creates this sort of protection for the bullshitters. The bullshitters have a little protection, whereas the victims don't, because it's up to the victims to prove something doesn't work, rather than That's why I think in rule of thumb that it should be illegal to claim something without actual evidence.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it should be, I think at most suggestion. Because, many things, well, I agree with you, but I think there's kind of a reason why we shouldn't necessarily set ourselves up in a way which would be perhaps in some ways leaning towards limiting freedom of speech and thought, even though we're on the right side, in my opinion, in terms of not actually accepting any old claim. There are so many claims out there which are unsupported, most notably the religious, that it would make it incredibly impossible, well, I would say impossible, in fact, to actually, make it so that's acceptable, because many of these ideas of quackery, obviously, as we've been talking about, do link into ideas which are religious. So
I know, but the thing is, we already do have certain laws about this.
Yeah,
that if I sell you a used car, it's as is, unless I make specific claims about it that turn out to be false.
Yeah, like it's only got half the
if I sell you a
mileage.
car and say it has a brand new engine and it doesn't, well, that allows me to void the contract because you've made false claims.
That's true. So, say, well, this is a thing we tend to get over here in the UK. I imagine you get it in, in Canada, and I'm sure they have it in America as well. The same sort of thing. Do you have this over in Canada where basically you end up with people who, for example, if they're doing alternative therapy, healing and such, it's meant to be complementary as opposed to alternative? So instead of being an alternative to a medical cure, it's complementary and in that way part of. So, if you're having cancer medicine, you don't come off the medicine and go to a faith healer. You instead stay on the medicine and, if you wish, go to the faith healer as part of your personal choice. So it's not simply a question of one or the other, which seems to be one of the biggest dangers of alternative therapies.
I think it's tricky. I think the biggest issue is the harm done. It's like going back to cocaine. It's my right to take cocaine and kill myself over it if I want. But it's not. But if I'm doing it because you told me it cures cancer, that's.
I've heard similar claims.
It goes back to, like I said, it's my right to put in my body what I want, but you don't have a right to claim to sell me something falsely.
That's true. That's true. And I suppose that should be made more clear. But obviously, it's like, I don't know, it's a dream at best in the end. Because for as long as we have freedom of religion, freedom of spirituality, which is merely disorganised religion, we'll never truly move on to that level. We'll never truly, get to a position of where people are basically getting the whole truth and nothing but the truth.